The Kansas City Chiefs are back at camp, and for the first time with the pads on and tempers, they're flowing. Today we will give you a Chris Jones update, kind of, and unfortunately, the injury report, it just keeps growing. So we will take a look into that, and there was a lot of action taking place on the football field today, so we're going to dive into that. With all that, let's cut the chit chat and let's have some fun. And just like that, the Kansas City Chiefs day off was quick, and they are coming back strapped up with the pads on and getting physical. But just because the Kansas City Chiefs players had a day off doesn't mean the coaching staff and team did, as they were up to work. With the surprising announcement of retirement of John Ross, they had a hole to fill, and they signed wide receiver standout out of Missouri, Tyler Scott. Now, if you ask me, I don't know anything about him. But if you ask Chiefs Kingdom, they are very familiar with him, and he is a guy to keep your eyes on through training camp and through preseason. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. But do I think this means anything for the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward? I don't really. I don't know much about the kid, so I don't want to limit him, but I can see him being a practice squad player at best. But if he stands out throughout preseason, anything can happen. So keep your eyes out on this kid, because I know Chiefs Kingdom, they're excited about him. Now, injuries. You hate to discuss about them, and specifically at this point of the year, but this is where they most likely get flowing off, because this is where you try to rub the dust off and you go full swing ahead into football mode, and injuries happen. And it's happened throughout the whole league, as we have witnessed. In the Kansas City Chiefs, they had a few players come down with injuries today, and the first player we're going to discuss is unfortunately Jody Fortson, who has dealt with injuries throughout his whole career, and who Chiefs Kingdom has been so hopeful that he is just going to break the scene and be a breakout player for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he had a shoulder injury trying to come down with a touchdown catch today, and it doesn't look positive. I don't know much about it now. He was carted off. It was a shoulder injury, and he was on the ground for a little bit in some pain. Just crossing my fingers that this is something that doesn't keep Fortson out, because, as I mentioned, he has all the potential in the world, and we just want to see him on the field, and we want to see him healthy and earn his way onto this football team, because that's just the kind of player he has been. Dealing with injuries, but when he's on that football field, he is a legit threat, and he can be a difference maker for this offense. With question marks in this receiving group and whole, with wide receivers and tight ends, Jody Fortson, this could have been his year to make a present. Not saying it won't be, but let's find out the severity of this injury, and just like I mentioned, crossing my fingers, it's nothing too serious. Now that we switch sides of the ball and go to the defense, Drue Tranquill sustained a neck strain as well today. That's something where hopefully it's nothing too serious as well. As I've mentioned on this channel, time in and time out, Drue Tranquill is going to be a difference maker for this defense moving forward if healthy. That is something he had to deal with the Chargers as well, is injury concerns. So hopefully this is nothing too serious for him, because that linebacking core is going to be a difference maker and is going to help this Kansas City Chiefs defense try to be a top 10 defense next year. With the lights of Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, and Leo Chanel, Drue Tranquill, he's going to be someone that's going to be that Swiss Army knife. He's going to be in the backfield. He's going to be in the secondary making plays. So hopefully, again, this is nothing too serious. And also, Mike Dana. He had an injury as well today. This was lowly reported on, so I'm hoping that means it's not serious at all. I just wanted to mention it because he was on the injury report, so let's hope that doesn't turn out to be serious too. Now, the topic of conversation surrounding the Kansas City Chiefs as of late has been the contract negotiations between Chris Jones. And honestly, the longer it lingers, the more unsettling it gets, and makes me at least feel antsy that something might not get done. And today, Coach Reid's comments weren't anything reassuring as well, but also not surprising. When reporters asked for any updates in regards to Chris Jones, he said, "I haven't been in communication with him. We're moving fast and furious, and we're trying to get the guys that we have right now up to speed and ready to go." Again, nothing surprising, but also nothing reassuring, because he hasn't been in communication with Chris Jones, which that's not surprising. It leaves Chiefs Kingdom feeling a little unsettling, but the one who's going to be in communication with Chris Jones is going to be Brett Veach and team, hammering away to get a deal done. And as of what Andy Reids said, he said he wasn't in communication with him, not Brett Veach. So crossing fingers that just gets away and leveled out, and we can just settle this and get a contract in place and get Chris Jones back in camp. Because no matter how you put it, and I know Coach Reid does a very good job with it, but this can end up being a distraction. Now, Coach Reid, he is a great coach and he knows how to keep his players focused, but the media, they will keep asking and pecking away until he's in camp, unfortunately. So let's just get it signed, sealed, delivered, and get him in camp. But speaking of cross fingers, Chris Jones, he took to social media and it didn't help Chiefs Kingdom whatsoever. He left a little cross fingers emoji on an image of Frank Clark in a Denver Broncos uniform. Chiefs Kingdom, you guys get in a weird way. They speculated that, oh, he wants to be a Denver Bronco now. That is far from the case. If anything, cross fingers, I would say that's his boy. He's tight with him and he's wishing nothing but the best. But hey, if you want to throw something out of perspective and out of left field, that could be a direction you go to thinking Chris Jones want to be a Denver Bronco. I think that's far from the case. But that wasn't our last social media update with Chris Jones, because why would it be? He also liked a tweet. Yep, we're going this direction. He liked a tweet from a user. I don't know if it was a fan, if it was just someone making a tweet, but basically saying that Chris Jones is under contract and that he may not get the contract he likes. That means he will not be a Kansas City Chief next year, which could all be very valid. And also, focus on it at whole. He said he might not be a Kansas City Chief next year. We're already in this season. Chris Jones will be a Kansas City Chief this season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, at least from what I view it. Now, if the Kansas City Chiefs were to trade him, I would have to imagine that it would have to be an insane haul. Like, they would need a player and they would need draft picks. The Kansas City Chiefs aren't just going to create a hole on this defense for this year and try to bounce back and get to a Super Bowl without Chris Jones. That's not going to happen. What is going to happen is Chris Jones might report to camp closer to the preseason game of the week 1 preseason game, and then just move forward from there. And then Chris Jones, he's going to try to have the year of his life, its contract year, and ball out. That way, he forces the Kansas City Chiefs' hand, and if not, he gets traded and someone else will sign him to a beautiful contract. That's how I could see this thing unfolding. But as for 2023, Chris Jones is going to be a Kansas City Chief. Now, let's move forward away from this Chris Jones situation because it just feels like it can be ongoing. There was action that took place on the football field, and let's get right into that as the pads were on and these players were moving, and it was looking good early on for the offense. Later on throughout the day, there was a lot of inconsistency. Drop balls, incomplete passes, you name it, it was happening, and you could tell that they just didn't seem satisfied. Does it mean to worry? No, it doesn't mean to worry by any stretch of the imagination. It's day 1 in pads. Chiefs Kingdom, don't panic about it because this will still be a great offense moving forward. You got Coach Reid, you got Patrick Mahomes. They're already hard enough to stop. They will get it running and it will look smooth coming into week 1. But a play that looked very smooth and a play that looked like Patrick Mahomes at his finest is him rolling out, I want to believe it was to his right, and slinging it downfield to Marquez Valdez-Scantling for about a 40 to 50 yard touchdown. It was a thing of beauty. And honestly, I find it funny. And we're all prisoners of the moment and we do it all the time. Where when we try to label a wide receiver that could be a wide receiver number 1 for the Kansas City Chiefs offense moving forward, we never mention MVS, which I guess can be rightfully true because he has his role. But his role can be increased a little bit more going on in next year because he had over 600 yards last year and a lot of them were missed opportunities just because of communication. Because we saw it last year where Mahomes tried to hit him deep a lot last year, and it didn't happen. And if some of those were connected, MVS could have easily been an 800-yard wide receiver last year. And you love to see it in day one with the pads where they connected. And if they can connect on a few more during the season, MVS may be someone fun to watch. I'm not saying he's going to be a wide receiver number one. I can't even get myself behind that. But can I get myself behind him being actually a great vertical threat for this offense to where, hey, call him deep, let him run? Yes, I can. And also, MVS is a very dependable wide receiver. Don't forget about it. He was the guy who got us to the Super Bowl. When we had no wide receivers, when he was basically the last man standing, he put the team on his back and beat the Cincinnati Bengals. He had an amazing AFC Championship game. So I'm looking for great things from MVS next year. Nothing crazy, but definitely improvements, and I'm excited to see him take the field. Another player I'm excited to see take the field as we switch sides of the ball, and it's newly acquired safety Mike Edwards. He is trying to bounce back from possibly his worst career year ever with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but one thing we know him for is he's a playmaker. He knows how to get after the football, and that's what he did today. Now, it may not have been the best pass from Patrick Mahomes. He was feeling himself. You saw the long pass that he did to MVS. He wanted to do it to Sky Moore too, and he underthrew him a little bit, which made Mike Edwards make a beautiful diving interception and take it and do the rest. That is the kind of ability Mike Edwards has. He's going to be your third safety on this team. Man, I don't even know if he'll be your third safety. The Kansas City Chiefs safeties, how they can rotate them can be a thing of beauty. They're young, they're inexperienced, but they need to prove themselves. And I think that's going to be the status quo going into 2023 with the offense and defense is the unproven becoming proven, because it's going to look like Nazeeh Johnson and Mike Edwards can be sharing snaps at that third safety spots. And Mike Edwards, if he wants to see the football field, he's going to have to be making plays like he did today. And that's the reason why the Kansas City Chiefs signed him. It's like, get after the football, because the Kansas City Chiefs last year, they were good at getting after the quarterback and getting sacks. But one thing they struggled with is turning over the ball and getting interceptions. And that is a main reason why Mike Edwards is on this defense now. They need playmakers, and they need Mike Edwards to make plays like he did today. And now, to close off this video, I couldn't do it any other way. Patrick Mahomes has been displaying, for the better part of 2 off seasons now, his beautiful behind the back passes. And he did it today. And everyone wants to see it in a game. And I'm with you. I do too. But the pass he did today, I don't want to see that one in the game whatsoever. If we're on the 10, 15-yard line and he's chucking it up behind the back like that, that thing's intercepted and going for 6. I want to see a nice casual. I actually think I might have thought of the perfect play. Now hear me out on this. So they go in a shotgun formation. Mahomes snaps it. Then he acts like he's going to run, like wildcat formation, kind of like what Lamar Jackson does. You have Mahomes here, and then you have Pacheco or Prince on the other side, and then you do like a quarterback sneak, and then he goes behind the back all the way to the other side, Richie James, and then Richie James throws his beautiful left-handed pass to MVS in the touchdown. I don't know if that's in the playbook, but that would be a thing of beauty. And if I see that next year, I will lose my mind. Is there a chance the Kansas City Chiefs can implement a backwards pass into next year? There could be. Now, the one we've seen today, I would be so shocked if that happens. But if it's something behind the line of scrimmage in a short little backwards pass, that might happen. But if he's going to be launching backwards passes like 20 yards, and if it's completed, he could retire. Like, literally. Go to the Hall of Fame, do what you got to do, rename the NFL after Patrick Mahomes, because this is just a backyard game to him at this point if he's completing 20-yard backwards passes. But I really don't know if they can be implemented in the game. But it would sure as hell be fun to watch. So I guess it's something we got to keep our eyes on. And I think that's what the Kansas City Chiefs are trying to say to defenses out there is like, hey, prep for it. We may never use it, but be prepared. With that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm going to close this video off. Before I do, Please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you did like this video, please leave that big thumbs up. I'm checking out. Y'all take care. Peace.